Hello again, and thanks for spending some more time with me. Today I'll be talking about the importance of adopting a framework to guide your journey towards efficient and effective cybersecurity. Now, we get a lot of questions from clients, and we even asked ourselves, how do you know if you're doing the right things? How do we know, or how do we identify the standards and best practices to follow? How do we evaluate and document our efforts, either for internal purposes or for compliance needs? Now, these are some questions that we'll address in this narrative with information about the importance of identifying and following a cybersecurity framework. Now, we love this quote from management guru Peter Drucker, who says, "If you can't measure it, you can't manage it." This applies to all aspects of IT and is particularly important and relevant for security. We all know that cyber threats are evolving at an alarming rate, and there are many frameworks and guidelines to keep you on track. Systems engineering has evaluated the more popular frameworks for our own purposes, and several years ago, we landed on the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework. Now, it's a mouthful, so we refer to it as the NIST CSF. Now, we've adopted this framework as our baseline for security operations and adapted it into a philosophy that fits our needs specifically, and that also can be offered as a managed service to our customers. And we call it the Adaptive Cybersecurity Framework, or the ACSF. Now, the NIST CSF is organized by an identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover approach. Essentially, it boils down to assessing IT assets and operations, protect them with safeguards and controls, leverage tools to detect risk, develop an incident response plan, and recover from incidents following that plan. This process can be adapted based on priorities and budget, which is what we've done with our ACSF service. So let's start with the first question. How do you know if you're doing the right things? Well, the framework will help you define what you should be doing. Compose and maintain an inventory of users, assets, and the business processes driven by IT. Next, you prioritize the risks and work internally or with a third party to compare these findings to the framework, and then that will help you identify the risks and leverage this data to compose an incident response plan. Now, IT advisors talk a lot about best practices and industry standards, but what do they really mean? Adopting a framework will not only provide details and examples, but also direction and organization for your efforts at remediating risk. And finally, how do you evaluate and document these efforts? This is where a framework is critical. The NIST CSF is essentially a checklist against which you can evaluate and prioritize these efforts. It's not the only framework available, but it's a standard across all industries and can be adapted and followed to be sure that you're investing time and money effectively in your cybersecurity journey. So I'll close with a reminder that this is important. You need to be organized, and also you need to remember that IT has become a utility like light or heat, and business and technical leaders are responsible for and accountable to an organized effort to keep IT high functioning, to mitigating risk, and delivering this utility to your employees and to your clients. Thank you for your time, and please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have questions about how to adapt the NIST CSF or anything else related to your approach to managing cybersecurity or IT in general.